Hello, my name is David Reinprecht and thank you so much for visiting my website. My journey started at a very young age when I was 12 years old. That's the time when testosterone's kicking in and I had a crush on a girl in my class. But I was chubby and shy and I had no idea how to approach a girl. So I thought writing a little love note might make it easier. But then when I wrote it, I was still too shy. I was hiding it under my desk and sure enough it didn't take long and my classmates exposed me and they gave it to her. And I saw from a distance, she was jumping like a little bird, all happy that somebody likes her. But when she found out it came from me, she came up to me with this piece of paper, looked in my eyes, she goes, "David, did you write this?" And I was all nervous, I didn't know what to say. And she goes, "Oh, come on, David, do you think I'm gonna go with you? Look at you, you're fat." And that was the beginning of my career. From that moment on, I wanted to learn everything about nutrition and fitness and bodybuilding, how to build muscles, how to burn fat, so that nobody ever can say that to me. I lost about 20 pounds in less than 3 weeks. I was running after school every single day. I ate 1 or 2 apples per day. I didn't know any better, but it worked. And I read countless books about bodybuilding, nutrition, fitness, and pretty much every magazine that came out every single week. When I was 16 years old, I had another dramatic, painful event happening to me. My grandma had a stroke and she was bedridden. My grandpa already passed away 2 years prior, so my mom had to take care of her. We brought her to our house. She had her own little room. And seeing that every single day on how she was deteriorating, she hardly could remember me or anybody in my family. And it created this fear of aging because I said to myself, is that what aging is all about? Do we all end up like this? Do we have to? And so at that time, I already did a lot of fitness and everything. I was already in decent shape, but it made it even, worse for me because I did fasting, I did sports, running, playing tennis, going to the gym, taking my supplements, anything I could, to stay healthy and to prevent, because it created that fear, to maybe in my 70s to end up like my grandma. Since I was a teenager, I was always inspired by Hollywood, America, the United States, where everything is possible. And I was watching TV shows such as Baywatch, Beverly Hills, Melrose Place, action heroes such as Schwarzenegger, Van Damme, Sylvester Stallone. And I wanted to be there, and also be an actor. But my mom, she destroyed my dream and she said, "This is not for you, not everybody can do it." And I always, was kind of the black sheep in my family. And whenever she said I cannot do it, then I definitely did it. And so I was working on a plan to come to the United States. And as I was working on my dream to come to America, I got called in for the army. Here in Austria, we have to do 1 year of service. So I agreed, signed up, so I get it over with, and then I can go to America to continue working on my dream. And in the 90s, when I got called in, we had the Kosovo breaking out, and we had American soldiers stationed in my facility. And at that time, my English was, so-so, enough to have a little bit of small talk. And I talked to them, the American soldiers, and they inspired me even more to come to America. They told me all the great stories, and it's almost like it was meant to be. After I finished my 1 year service in the army, I continued working on my dream, and I found a way that is the cheapest way to come to America and live with a family. It's called au pair, where a foreign, student comes to America, lives in the house, takes care of the kids, and probably also do some cleaning, but I was down for that. And in exchange, you can live there for free. But there was a test you had to take. Your English had to be at a certain level. You have to have quite some knowledge about working with children, which I didn't have. But it just happened that my mom's friend worked in kindergarten. And so I was going there once or twice a week, volunteering and, playing with kids. And so I had it on my resume. Let me tell you, it wasn't easy. And make a long story short, I got all the documents together. I had everything done. I went to the final test in person. Everything was great. They accepted my documents that I had experience working with children, but I failed the English test. My English was okay, but not good enough. They were not confident enough in case if there's an emergency and their parents are not home and I cannot call and explain exactly what happened to the kid. That's what they're concerned of. And then, yeah, and there it goes. My dream shattered in 1,000 pieces. Around this time, as you can imagine, my motivation was kind of down because that was the only way for me to come to America where I don't have to spend thousands and thousands of dollars. And one day in the gym, I was introduced to drugs, ecstasy. You know, in the 90s, nobody knew what it was. It was like brand new. So they gave it to me and my friends. We went out to party, we tried it out, and all of a sudden, I had a great time. And in my head, I was still the little chubby kid. And when I took it, you know, it gave me that confidence to be the person I was supposed to be, going up to girls and don't care if you get rejected, and you shouldn't care. And so I kind of liked it because I would go up to any girl, and if I get rejected, I wouldn't care. So it gave me that confidence. Make a long story short, you know, me and my friends on the weekends, you know, we went out to party, kept going with that. A year later, one of my friends said, "Hey, let's try heroin." And I said, "Heroin?" I said, "No, I'm not touching that. That's like a real drug, right? I mean, you can get physically addicted to it. You know, I'm not going to touch that." Well, some of my friends did continue and started playing around with that stuff. You know, another year passed, good time and partying. And then one day, one of my friends died. He overdosed. And that was a wake-up call for me because I would have never thought that I'm getting involved in this, you know, party scene. And losing a friend was painful too, but it was a wake-up call for me. I stopped, you know, touching anything. I stopped partying and I pursued my dream again because during that time, my dream coming to the United States sort of like faded away. And at some point, you know, I didn't even believe that I ever going to make it because I wasn't so much involved in like partying and all that stuff. Well, but I did. But again, I had no idea on how to, you know, make it. Again, long story short, one day I walk down the street in Vienna in the first district and I see a sign. It says Foreign Exchange Student Program. I was like, that sounds interesting. What is it? So I went in for an interview. They explained everything to me. You can actually sign up to come to the United States. You can pick whether you want to go to Florida or California. And you're going to be there for like a year. You live on the campus. You study also English and also certain topics you can choose. And I was like, really? That's it? Sign me up. So I went home. I told my mom, hey, I'm going to America. And she was all surprised. She goes, how? Here, I got the paper. All I have to do is sign up and go. So I did sign up and I had 1 year left before my departure to Los Angeles, California. And I was working day and night. I was selling everything I had, my computer, my car. My parents helped me, my grandma helped me to pay to live on campus. And here we are, 2001, 9/15. My departure was supposed to be 3 days after 9/11. We all know what happened at 9/11, so my flight got delayed for 2 weeks. And out of the 130 students from Austria, almost everybody canceled except me and 2 more people. As you can imagine, my mom didn't want to let me go, but I did go because there was nothing holding me back no more. And I cannot tell you the emotions I went through when I stepped, you know, out of that plane and I smelled that ocean air. Oh my God, I was so happy that I finally made it after all the ups and downs, after rejections, you know, the chubby kids, the party scene, my friend passing away. I almost thought I'm not going to make it. And here you are, you know, years later, I'm actually here in America to study and to follow my dream. During my first year studying in Northridge at Season University, I met so many people from all over the world. It was such a great experience, and everybody was so friendly. In Austria, people are not that friendly. Even when you go to the store, they ask you, "Oh, how you doing? How was your day?" Blah blah blah. Like if you go shopping in Europe, they don't even look at you. They don't say nothing. So it's a little culture shock that people are so nice here. Fast forward, second year comes around. Most of my friends, went back to their countries. Germany, Sweden, Japan, and I stayed for another year as a student. My other friend, Chris, who came here with me from Austria, he studied in Santa Monica College. He got a two-bedroom apartment, and I was lucky enough that I could share the rent with him, so I was able to stay. In the summer, he was always gone. He came from a wealthy family, so he just studied, and whenever he had time off, he, flew back. And I was there for 3 months in the summer, and I had to come up, for paying rent. It was very hard to find a job, as a student if you don't have a green card. So I was struggling a little bit. And make a long story short, I got to a point where, I couldn't come up with the money, couldn't find a job. And I was sitting on the floor, I had a few $100, left and a phone call, to call my mom and say, "Hey, send me a ticket. I come home. I didn't make it." Oof. I mean, these emotions were intense, but after everything I went through, but I remember there were three guys in the gym in Austria. They told me that, "Oh, you're not going to make it. You're going to come home. I give you 1 year, maybe 2 years, but you're going to come back home. You're not going to make it." And at that very moment, when they said that, it was all negative, right? But who would have thought that 2 years later, that is exactly what I needed to hear? Because they gave me the strength to throw away the phone, take the few $100 and keep going and just make it. And there is no return. I was ready to die. I really meant it. I was ready to sleep on the street, worst case scenario. That's how determined I was. I had no idea, how am I going to get a job or anything. So a week later, I'm at Gold's Gym, Venice Beach and Gold's Gym, on the cardio machine. I'm on the phone talking in German with my family. And that lady next to me, approached me and said, "Oh, do you speak German?" I'm like, "Oh, you're German too." So we started talking in German, and I told her my situation, and she invited me, just she invited me to a party in Malibu because there's some, German business owners, so maybe they can help you. And guess what? Next thing you know, they did help me, and I was able to pay my rent. About 1 year later, I met my future wife. I had a business meeting across the street of a nightclub on Sunset Boulevard. There was a model calendar signing. My friend happened to know her, introduced me to her. We talked, and she was gorgeous. A few months later, I recognized her on MySpace, and we started talking. We started going out, and 7 months later, we got married. And now I could do whatever I wanted because now I can go acting, I can open a company, and I did everything. I I got a little bit lucky, I have to say, because my wife or ex-wife, she was actually Bill Maher's ex-girlfriend, and we were invited to all those Hollywood parties, which were packed with celebrities. It's not like that I made any connections there that helped me, with acting, but it was really great to see how they live and how they talk and to get to know them. I was a little struck because I've never seen so many superstars, right next to me, chatting with me, and I was one of them. Or at least I had to pretend. Not a great experience. I did about 15 movies over the years, commercials, TV shows. I also got involved into fitness modeling. I ended up in a bunch of fitness magazines. I was a sponsored athlete for a supplement company, for a fitness equipment company. And I was like, wow, this is like a dream come true. The little chubby kid that got rejected years and years later now is in TV shows, in movies, and in fitness magazines. I would have never thought. I had the dream, I was determined, I wanted to do it. I had no idea how, but as you can see, just follow your passion, follow your excitement, and the universe will just, open up for you to find your way. From that moment on, everything became better. Chris and I, that used to be my business partner, he's also from Austria, that happened to live here. We opened up Chris and Dave Production. We did all the big Hollywood events. We were the first ones that brought house music to Hollywood because no club was playing any house music, it was all hip hop. So we had a surprise guest coming, DJ Tiesto, that's super famous now. He came to our event, as you can see here. And from that moment on, it just took off and it became more successful. I also went to castings, did more acting jobs. And then also I studied functional nutrition, functional medicine, and also longevity, because now longevity is reality. And so as you can imagine, my schedule, was packed, but I didn't care because it was my passion. And looking back how far I came, it's actually quite amazing that I was so close a few times to give up. And somehow I didn't. And as long as you follow your passion, your excitement, the universe will always open up and provides you one step to the next. So never give up your dream. And a few years later, after I gathered new knowledge, I opened up a few more companies. I opened up BiocorpUSA.com, which is a sports supplement company. Then the next one was Arizona nutritionist.com, mylongevityfitness.com. I also have a decent following on social media where I show you, a lot of free information about how to slow down the aging process, how to be healthy, how to detox, and so on. I also wrote 2 books. My first book is From Chubby Kid to Longevity Hero. As you know, that's my journey, my title. From the little chubby kids to here now talking to you. And this book is all about my life's journey and also about longevity when it comes to nutrition and supplements and so on. My second book was based on the ultra-processed food crisis we're facing here in America. The book title is America's Food Pandemic, The Hidden Crisis, for a very good reason. And in this book, I took a deep dive into exposing all the food chemicals, the plastics, the environmental factors, the metals. I mean, everything that's bad in our food supply today, especially when it comes to ultra-processed food, is in that book. And there's also a happy ending. It also explains you and shows you on how to escape it. So thank you for watching. I hope you made it to the end. And if you have any questions, please feel free to hit me up or follow me on my social media. I'm always here to answer any questions. Thank you.